Hello, my friends, and welcome. We are going to be looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it looks like the reviews are not looking too well, and Ubisoft might be taking legal action against GamerGate. I don't know. Let's check it out. All right, here's for 10,000 subscribers. Let's do it.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is upon us, and I would be lying if I didn't admit that this game is kind of the final bastion of the culture war, so to speak, when it comes to whether Western video games change or not in the future, and Ubisoft is apparently so hell-bent on stifling the discourse that they've now hired lawyers as well. But before I get into that, I figured that we look into the reviews here first and see what exactly is being said overall about this game. First,
so it sounds like this game is kind of like the bellwether on the Western gaming industry shifting away from the wokeness, which it inevitably it has to. There's no way it can keep doing this, but it looks like this might be the first domino to drop. And if that's the case, that's good. But I do not understand why Ubisoft seems to be pushing back against changing to something something that would please their customers, that would bring people back to buying their games at a greater number, make more money. I don't get it. Okay, let's go on. Let's see what he has to say.
Firstly, from Newsweek, their review claims that Shadows is 2 steps forward and 1 step back in their lengthy piece. While Newsweek admits the game looks nice at least, they weren't convinced about the actual meat within this meal. At one point, they say that one of Shadow's most glaring issues is the biggest weakness is the people of the world, who don't stand out at all. I know this series has never known how to motivate its characters with anything other than vengeance, but somehow I was still disappointed when that was all Naoe and Yasuke could go on about.
Yeah.
This sentiment that Yasuke and Naoe's tale is nothing special is what I kinda gathered from a lot of the reviews that I was reading. Although some reviews said that Yasuke was adapted very well, but I mean, yeah, the guy wasn't a samurai to begin with. So I mean, they kinda just did whatever they wanted with him. But anyway,
Right.
Newsweek continues by stating, as far as Ubisoft's open world checklist goes, this isn't its best outing. Most question marks on your map will just be locations with nothing to offer. A hostile district with little value outside of early game resources and occasionally an actual activity. However, even those activities aren't anything special. Wow, okay, so it seems that Ubisoft hasn't really evolved their open world setting as much as players would have hoped, it seems. Well, that's too bad. If there was ever a game that needed to blow the doors off the hinges and start impressing people, it was definitely Shadows.
Yep.
But it doesn't look like what's on offer here is really any different than the previous games in the series, although this part made me audibly yell out, "Huh? What?" when I read this, which, come here, look at this. It isn't without its frustrations, though. Despite making light level a factor, there is no way to wait for nighttime before infiltrating. Aside from sitting around and waiting the 30 minutes or so it takes for the day to cycle, which is an especially odd decision when so many gear upgrades encourage nighttime infiltrations only activating once the sun goes down. On top of that, the enemy's AI seems to have gone backward from previous games as they can no longer climb rooftops to pursue you. So if you do get spotted, you can just lie down on a roof and wait for them to give up.
What?
Ubisoft, we have to have a conversation here, guys. What is going on over there? You released a game with seasons and such, but you didn't think to give the player the ability to change the time of day when you have a heavy emphasis on gear being useful based on the time of day that it is? I thought you guys were trying to rip off The Witcher 3 with all of these RPG mechanics games, but you guys don't remember that The Witcher 3 has, the ability to change the time. But you can't do that here. What is going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to just like meditate, you should be able to cycle the time. That's ridiculous because that's been a feature in previous Assassin's Creed games where you just like sleep or meditate or whatever they want to call it, but it allows you to go from night to day basically at will, and that that got missed. Or it seems like it got purposely taken out. I don't understand that. That is mind-boggling. Why would that even happen?
there. Why? Why is my question. How does something like this get past QA exactly? I know they'll say, oh,
Yeah.
he's harassing the devs. I'm not. Calm down. This is at Ubisoft directly, as in the company, not the devs. The devs don't get to make every decision. It always comes
That's
from up
true.
top. This is
That is
just
true.
such a bizarre decision design-wise. And then you make a game where one of your primary heroes can climb anything. And then you gave the enemies 0 options to climb after them.
That sounds like it was some executive producer that was just like, I don't really like, because, there's all these woke people in the company now, and they're probably like, well, it feels like you need a safe space in the game. So let's just not have the enemies be able to pursue you once you get onto a rooftop. I guarantee you there was some kind of a conversation like that happened. My gosh, this is ridiculous.
Templar bad guys just not have their own shinobis or something? I mean, I know they do, because in the game, Naowei has to hunt down an entire group of evil shinobis.
Wow.
And you're telling me that none of these people thought it was a good idea to have enemies that could pursue you or climb up high. Doesn't this just make Naowei kind of broken to play as then? Because then you can't really fail. Because you can just run on a rooftop and then plank like one of those kids back in the day, and you're good. This is a really weird oversight. I'm kind of hoping that Newsweek is trolling me here, because in every other game, if I remember correctly, the guards would just chase you like you owed them rent money. That's super weird, dude. But hey, there's more.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to, in some of the games in the past, they'd give you like this, like ghost, like image would appear. So it's like the guards would see you, but then you got out of line of sight. But it's like they still knew you were there, so it's like this ghost image. You know what I mean? But yeah, you have to totally run your butt off, like all over the place, diving into whatever to try to avoid the guards. Sometimes their awareness was a little too good. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Screen Rant continues their review by saying that the gameplay is too safe, and they also say the game doesn't do enough with both heroes and rarely teams them up, but here's more of what they said. It's discouraging that the game doesn't directly pair them up more often. One memorable mission offers 2 perspectives on the same objective and allows you to experience both in sequence. As the enemy's HP ramped up, I kept Yasuke closer, dispensing with any tedious stealth assassination plans, most of which fail on stronger targets by default, and I began to consider Shadows less as an Assassin's Creed entry and more as a scaled back character action game. Oh, that's not good, fellas. Oh, that is not good. By default, you can't assassinate certain targets. What? Okay, so the enemies will get stronger, obviously, the more you progress through the... But I guess in Screen Rant's opinion, these stealth actions obviously began to be heavily outweighed by the pure action alternatives on hand in terms of difficulty. So the way I'm reading it is like this. Naowei is better early game, but then Yasuke becomes the obvious choice to then breeze through content in the mid to end game. That is not good at all. And this was one of my fears, because as soon as Ubisoft introduced the whole RPG mechanic stuff to Ass Creed, fans have audibly groaned that you can't insta-kill someone with a hidden blade to the neck if your level is too low or something. I always found that, frankly, kind of dumb. I mean, it's not like these people are superheroes. They're just dudes in armor.
Yeah.
The fact that Naowei's combat becomes more laborious, harder, and somehow ineffective in a game called Assassin's Creed is, well, that's not good to see. And this is what I mean, right? Because in Screen Rant's case anyway, this means they just focused on playing Yasuke exclusively going forward. So then they just got him better stuff and then mostly ignored Naowei, and like they say in that excerpt, at that point they weren't even playing in an Assassin's Creed game anymore, but pretty much God of War, only, worse. Yeah. This was one of my biggest fears for this game, which is that the action of Yasuke would eventually overtake Naowei's stealth options. And this is why the hero should only be one person, because then you can just do both, and the game doesn't need to split their resources like this.
Yeah, I mean, it would still be cool to have Yasuke team up with you for certain missions, where only he could bust through a wall or something, because he's basically a tank. But yeah, this is so retarded. I don't understand the design decisions. This was definitely on purpose. and it was the wrong decision. Oh my gosh, Ubisoft. I kind of still want to play the game just to like really, really know what the heck everything that everyone's been talking about, how bad this game is. But anyways,
it's all so bizarre to me, man. Like, how did we go from Odyssey or Valhalla to this? I do pray if Assassin's Creed does exist in the future that they never do dual protagonists ever again, because it's clearly not needed. Like, imagine you're playing a Final Fantasy game start to finish, like Final Fantasy 16. But Clive can only attack and not use his spells or other magical powers, but then you need to switch to Jill or something to do that instead. But it also needs a loading screen to happen, and now you can only use magic, and now melee combat is off the table. Like, what is even the point? You know what I mean? Again, just so many bizarre decisions that are on hand here. I'm not attacking the devs, Ubisoft. Calm down. Again, these decisions were okayed by your higher-ups. The devs are just doing what they're told here. Anyway, Screen Rant continues by claiming. And so this combat-oriented Assassin's Creed game soon becomes a cakewalk, even on the hardest difficulty mode. They also say the game overuses finisher animations, which drags on each enemy kill. Maybe they can patch in an option to have those happen less frequently, I guess? Or who knows, maybe the option is already there and Screen Rant didn't know about it, no idea yet. Regardless, this just seems like yet again another massive oversight on their part, but that's not all. Despite the rejection of stealth mechanics due to annoyances and, brain dead easy combat, Screen Rant also says that Shadow's World of Japan has a lot of unclimbable areas and many slippery slopes that oftentimes nudges the player towards just taking the main road to their next destination, rather than exploring off the beaten path because the world keeps funneling you in like a toddler. I'm sure this is not the case all the time, but again, this doesn't inspire hope in me for this game, especially when you consider that Ghost of Tsushima, which came out 5 years ago, mind you, not only looks better than Shadows, but also doesn't limit you like that and gives you the option to just kind of, run wherever you want. Again, so many bizarre design decisions on hand if these reviews.
I mean, with Ghost, you could do pretty much whatever you want. Obviously, there were certain things that kind of needed to be done before other things could be done in the missions and stuff to progress the story. But, I mean, you could literally do anything you wanted, go anywhere you wanted. I mean, it was awesome. That game was so good. But, okay, I don't know. Again, another poor decision by the producers that think they know what's best. And believe me, I've been there as a designer, as part of the dev team, and you have to do. You're kind of a grunt almost because the producers, they know what's best. And you're like, oh, come on. And sometimes they just don't make good decisions. So
are to be believed. Screen Rant also compares Shadows to Rise of the Ronin and says that Ronin solved many of the issues of the open world design that Ubisoft still hasn't done here. Which is very weird considering, if I'm not mistaken, Rise of the Ronin is like the first true open world game from that studio that made it, while Ubisoft has been making basically nothing but open world games for the past 15 years or more. It just shows a lack of innovation. They end their review with this, but many of Shadow's systems seem only serviceable where they should be exceptional. Shadows plays it too safe when it comes to its easier difficulty, its lack of story surprises, and its tried and tested combat and gameplay features. Overall, they gave Shadows a 7 out of 10, as you can see in the top right of this image here. I'll leave this on screen for a second in case you want to read the pros and cons yourself.
That's not
But
great.
Generally speaking, the consensus with Shadows is kind of all over the place. Some people loved the game, others hated it. One YouTuber by the name of Legacy Killer HD had this to say with his review of Shadows: I did not enjoy Assassin's Creed Shadows, combat and exploration. It felt restrictive and unbalanced, story mostly boring. The dual protagonist never clicked for me, as one is far more enjoyable to play as but is hamstrung by baffling design.
And I wonder which one it was that he enjoyed more playing. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Yasuke.
Yep, that is not good, guys. I figured Ubisoft would probably want to give the game only to people who they thought would be slam dunks, and they're probably looking at that review like, God damn, man, what the hell did we just do there? Overall, as of this video posting anyways, Shadows has an 82 on Metacritic, lower than I expected, to be real with you. I kind of figured it would be maybe 85 or higher considering how much was riding on this, but that's where it's at. Oh, and I guess if you care, IGN gave it an 8 out of 10, but they also gave Veilguard a 9, by the way, for comparison, so I really wouldn't believe them.
Nope.
So, this is not filling me with confidence there, fellas, I gotta admit, but I guess if Ubisoft doesn't like these reviews, they can just, sue everybody and claim that it's harassment, because they're allegedly threatening legal action if you talk bad about their games. This is from Fandom Pulse. Report, Ubisoft has team that includes lawyers that is monitoring social media posts for alleged harassment over Assassin's Creed Shadows. This rumor that went viral everywhere pretty much originated from a French website called BMFTV from a journalist named Melinda Devon Soulis, who claimed that Ubisoft has set up a big legal team to comb social media feeds, and I guess YouTubers too, to ensure that nobody harasses Ubisoft, the game, as in Shadows, or the devs, or they will be sued into oblivion. A lot of people went immediately, oh, Endymion and Grums will get sued. Oh, if they talk about Shadows negatively, oh, the horror, oh no, which is, well, yes, but actually no, let me explain. You see, this is not what they mean by suing for harassment, because you can't sue someone for talking poorly about your video game, which is a big reason as to why I plan to buy Shadows and then review it myself, because then if I buy a copy and just report on what I see in the game and show you via my own gameplay that I record myself, then I am not harassing Ubisoft, but simply showing you in video format what I've seen within this game that I bought legally with my schmeckles from my own wallet. So some may say, oh, why support Ubisoft? Well, I bought Veilguard and I reviewed it too, and this will be the same. And would you claim that I was harassing BioWare when I just reported to you guys in video form as to what was in that game, and then showed you examples from my own gameplay and everything else? No, of course not. Because I didn't attack BioWare's devs. I just showed you what was in the game and went, hey, there's a lot of transgender stuff in here for some reason, and the stories and the characters kind of suck, and then I just showed you the proof. And there's a big difference here between who or what Ubisoft can sue based on these claims, like for example. And no, I'm not saying do this, and nobody take this as a real example that I'm gonna do, but let's just say that I somehow decided one day to target a game developer of Shadow specifically by name. And then I told my followers to go attack them, which I'm not doing, but let's just say hypothetically. And then it gets out of control and say the dev is then doxxed. That's grounds for suing, yes. However, if you even have one brain cell in your brain, you'd know in many of my videos in the past, I never tell my viewers to ever harass anyone, no matter what the case. Nothing. I don't care if they attack me or try to defame me like CD Projekt Red CEO tried to when he said there was no DEI in his company. So then I was forced to expose them and then he got roasted by the internet. But the point is, I don't want you guys to attack anyone. The best course of action when it comes to video games, movies, or really anything else is just to watch live streams, videos, read people's posts, and get a general feel for things yourself. The entire Gamergate thing has been so effective because all people have to do is pretty much nothing at all, let's be real. They just don't have to buy the slop. That's the easiest form of retaliation that actually hurts these business practices and their ideologies in the long run. Anyway, if talking bad about a game you've played is grounds for being sued, then hypothetically every single negative review, or think piece, rant, or video essay about anything on the internet despite the topic should then be removed and then sued into the nether realm then. But we know that's not how the world works. Some people actually think if you talk bad about a game that you can be sued. No, that's not how any of this goes. If that was allowed, it would just bleed into other things. Like imagine going to a restaurant and then your food sucks and then going, hey, my food sucks. And the chef bursts through the door and goes, I'm suing you for not liking my crappy food. Yeah, sorry, buddy, that's not how that works. However, if you ate the bad food and then decided to run into the back of the restaurant and start performing WWE moves on the chef without their consent, yeah, that's physical assault, obviously. Look, the point here is that people have proven once again that they do not in fact know how to read things from a critical perspective. Here's what part of that original article said. An online harassment plan was even presented to the CSC to accompany the release of the game and protect employees. Key point there, guys. Protect employees, not Ubisoft. This means Ubisoft is not going to sue you or try to get you deplatformed for not liking Shadows or calling out their historical inaccuracies in game. because they know that they have no legal ground to twerk on to make that a reality. However,
Twerk.
if you decided to dox the, I don't know, writer of the game and then
Right.
go and physically assault them, yeah, obviously you're going to get charged.
Well,
Like, duh, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, let's not be stupid here. I never tell anyone to harass these people. Because the fact that your historical accuracy is bad in Shadows is not your grunt-level game designer's fault. It's Ubisoft, as in the top brass.
Yep.
These AAA companies, they work like a pyramid. Everything from the bottom can't go forward until it's sent through the proper channels all the way to the top of the pyramid for review. And then once the
frustrating.
top reviews it and approves it, then it can be made. So
Yep.
is the fact the game having historical inaccuracies the grunt dev's fault or the people at the top of the pyramid? Use your brain, you know the answer, I don't need to say it. The article's in French, but Fandom Pulse translated it here where it then further says, this team will provide psychological as well as potential legal support for employees who are allegedly targeted. Davan Sulis
gosh.
reported that the team will be monitoring posts to X and Reddit as well as YouTube videos. It also has lawyers ready to lodge complaints in the event of a proven harassment situation. You see what I mean? They're protecting the employees, which is fair enough, but I don't see a reason here to even go after any employee of Ubisoft if I'm being real with you guys.
Sure.
There's like, what, 18,000 employees worldwide at Ubisoft right now? There's no reason to target any of them. The only time I think it's justifiable to push back against employees is if, say, when, Matt Hansen, the art director of Avowed, if you remember that, how he openly admitted to only hiring people who weren't white and called everyone pro-Trump supporters and then kind of meant it in like a mean way. At that point, I think we can agree that that person is not really an employee. They are actively attacking their consumer base. And then honestly, if we use the same tactics against them, you could then sue Matt Hansen for attacking you and causing you emotional distress. But as long as you keep your criticisms lodged at Shadows as a commercial product, mind you, you're fine. Otherwise, even Legacy Killa HD's mini review there that he posted on X, or I guess YouTube as well, is bad then because he didn't like the game. And then what are you going to do? Sue him because he didn't like what they made? You know what this will just do if Ubisoft tries to push this further, right? It'll just make people not want to support them in the future even less than they do now. Because why would ordinary customers want to buy something from a company that is trying to strong-arm any criticism or legit complaints against them with legal action? You're just giving the people who don't like you even more reason to justify themselves in not supporting you further. They also state here that one alleged employee said we're advised not to post on social media that we work at Ubisoft to avoid harassment. Again, I'll say this so everyone hears it, do not harass Ubisoft employees. There's no point to do that. Don't harass some level designer or someone who is tasked with doing audio design. What's the point? But if you buy a game with your own money and have problems with the product that you bought, which is what exactly I did with Veilguard in the past, they can't sue you for not being happy with the product that you paid for. Like I said, this entire thing comes off to some people as some big gotcha when it really isn't. Unless I weaponize my following to attack some, cinematic designer, then sure, this entire thing then can happen. But we're not going to do that. And since I'm not stupid, well, I am a little, but not that stupid, I would never tell my following to do anything like that ever. Look, we're at a critical point here when it comes to the culture war stuff. It's where bad actors will try to dissuade and then use tactics to dismantle movements from within. It's always attempted with confusion and fear tactics, but everybody, you just need to relax here. If you go and make a joke about Shadows, Ubisoft can't sue you. Just don't attack their developers. And I also implore everyone to be vigilant to look out for bait as well, because I guarantee you that Ubisoft will try to bait YouTubers or other social media accounts into some harassment campaign against some developer. For no other reason than because they can then use that and go, see, they are evil and they are harassing game developers, and these people are so bad you should not support them anymore, and now we're gonna sue them. The point here is that everyone collectively just needs to be smart about things going forward. You need to keep a leveled head and understand where the lies are spewing from, and then be critical and understanding enough to figure out if what is being said is legit or just actual bait to get you into some sort of, fixed gotcha. I have no doubt that Ubisoft employees are nervous about this game's release. I would be too if your employers have lost 90% of their value and are trying to sell their IPs off to other companies to stay afloat. But the reality is that the likelihood of Ubisoft staying around like they are now in the future, it is very slim. And Ubisoft likely knows their own game won't save them either because they're so far into the red already that they need a legit miracle to save them here. I think, personally, Shadows will sell fine. Maybe not amazing, but fine. I think it will break 1 million copies in a few days, but that'll be on brand recognition alone. I mean, come on, this is Assassin's Creed. But this game does need to break somewhere in the upper millions of copies sold to even break even. And with this decent but not amazing critical response that we're seeing, frankly, it is going to be an uphill battle for them. So like I said, I'll be reviewing this when it comes out. When this video releases initially, I think Shadows is like a day away from release. But in my future content, I will just try to use my own footage of the game, like I did with Veilguard, to show my experience with the game. And if Ubisoft tries to sue me or anyone else for simply talking about a video game that I bought with my own money and want to express my God-given right to my free speech, they already know they aren't in the right, no matter how much mental gymnastics they try to swing through. But as it stands right now, things look very rocky for them. I'll definitely have a follow-up to this in the future soon. But what do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, question everything you see online, and I'll see you in the next video.
Well, it looks like Ubisoft might be on life support after this game. Yeah, they're gonna have to sell a lot of copies to recoup the cost that it made to make it. I mean, this was in development, I believe, for like at least 10 years or something. It's crazy. But anyways, hey, listen, if you enjoyed the episode, the video, please subscribe, like, share, slap that bell around, all that jazz. And tell your friends and family and everyone you know about Idle Hands and what we're doing here on the channel. And it's all good. All right, well, hey, listen, until the next episode, know that you are loved, stay safe, and until we meet again, have a great day.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear.